Mengele's twin experiments at Auschwitz. The angel of death, Joseph Mengele, conducted some of history's most depraved medical experiments, specifically targeting over 1,500 sets of identical twins at Birkenau between 1943 to 1944. His research included injecting blue dye directly into children's eyeballs to change their eye color, surgically attempting to create artificial conjoined twins by stitching siblings together, and deliberately infecting one twin with deadly diseases like typhus or tuberculosis, while keeping the other as a control subject. Survivors like Eva Moses-Core described being subjected to weekly blood draws that left them severely anemic, experimental drug injections causing violent convulsions, and spinal taps performed without any anesthesia. In one particularly gruesome documented case, Mengele personally killed 2 Roma twins with chloroform injections, then meticulously dissected their bodies while making detailed organ comparisons. Remarkably, about 200 twin subjects survived the camp, though nearly all suffered lifelong health complications, with many experiencing recurring nightmares decades later. Eva Core later founded Candle's Holocaust Museum, dedicating her life to educating people about these atrocities. Leonid Rogozov's Antarctic self-surgery. During the 6th Soviet Antarctic expedition in April 1961, 27-year-old surgeon Leonid Rogozov developed telltale symptoms of appendicitis, including severe abdominal pain, fever, and vomiting. With the nearest help over 1,000 miles away through blizzard conditions and no possibility of evacuation, he made the impossible decision to operate on himself. Using only local anesthetic, a handheld mirror, and basic surgical tools sterilized with boiling water, he made a 12 centimeters incision in his own lower right abdomen. For nearly 2 hours, working in 15 to 20-minute bursts between bouts of nausea and dizziness, he carefully removed his infected appendix, then sutured himself back up with steady hands. The entire procedure was documented in his diary, including the terrifying moment he accidentally punctured his cecum, but managed to repair it through sheer determination. Against all medical expectations, he returned to full duties within 2 weeks and later became a celebrated hero in Soviet medical circles. This remains one of the most extraordinary examples of human willpower in medical history. Cold War radiation experiments. From 1945 to 1975, the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission conducted over 4,000 secret radiation tests on unsuspecting citizens. In one notorious 1950s study at Massachusetts General Hospital, terminally ill cancer patients were intravenously injected with radioactive uranium-234 and uranium-235, without being informed of the risks. Another disturbing project called Operation Sunshine fed radioactive iron-59 and calcium-45 to pregnant women, then tracked how the isotopes affected fetal development through autopsies of miscarried babies. Most horrifically, at the Fernald School for Mentally Disabled Children in Waltham, boys were fed radioactive oatmeal laced with iron-55 and calcium-45. As part of a deceptive science club program, many participants later developed rare cancers and blood disorders, with some like Elmer Allen living for decades with visible radiation burns and a permanently blackened leg, serving as living evidence of these violations. It wasn't until 1995 that President Clinton formally apologized and established a compensation program for victims. The Stanford Prison Experiment's psychological torture. In August 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo transformed Stanford University's basement into a hyperrealistic mock prison. Within hours of assigning student roles, the guards began psychologically tormenting prisoners, forcing them to sleep naked on concrete floors, wear bag hoods, and simulate humiliating sexual acts. By day 2, prisoners showed signs of acute stress and dissociation, with one inmate known as Prisoner 8612 experiencing screaming breakdowns. When concerned parents visited, researchers lied about their children's deteriorating mental states. The experiment was finally stopped after just 6 days, when graduate student Christina Maslach confronted Zimbardo about the escalating abuse. Decades later, audio recordings revealed guards had planned even more sadistic acts, including simulated anal penetration with broom handles and waterboarding punishments. The study remains one of psychology's most controversial, demonstrating how easily ordinary people can become monsters given unchecked power. The monster studies psychological scars. University of Iowa researchers in 1939 deliberately induced stuttering in 22 orphan children from the Iowa Soldiers' Orphans Home. Under Dr. Wendell Johnson's direction, they divided children into groups. One received positive speech therapy, while the other endured constant verbal abuse like, "Your speech is defective and you'll never speak properly." Normal-speaking orphans like 12-year-old Mary Corlass developed severe stutters that persisted throughout their lives, destroying their self-confidence and career prospects. The researchers never debriefed or treated their subjects and actively concealed the study for decades. When it finally surfaced in 2001, the university issued its first-ever public apology and paid $1.2 million in compensation to surviving victims, though most had already died, never knowing their lifelong speech impediments were intentionally created. This remains one of the clearest examples of psychological damage being deliberately inflicted in the name of science. MKUltra's mind control victims. The CIA's top-secret 1950s-60s program tested LSD, electroshock, and sensory deprivation on thousands of unwitting citizens. At McGill University, Dr. Ewan Cameron erased patients' memories through psychic driving, playing recorded messages for weeks straight, while keeping them in barbiturate-induced comas. In one declassified case, tennis professional Harold Blauer was injected with massive doses of an experimental MDA derivative at New York State Psychiatric Institute. The injections caused violent convulsions, and he died during the 7th dose, with doctors falsely telling his family it was due to a bad reaction to medication. Documents reveal at least 80 similar deaths, with thousands more left permanently mentally damaged. The program was only exposed when families discovered their loved ones' medical records showed mysterious vitamin injections that were actually experimental drugs. This led to major reforms in human subject research protections, though many victims never received justice. The Aversion Project's anti-gay torture. Apartheid-era South Africa ran a secret military program to cure homosexuality from 1971 to 1989. Dr. Aubrey Levin subjected nearly 1,000 gay soldiers to electroconvulsive therapy, chemical castration, and experimental brain surgeries. Patients were strapped to chairs, shown gay porn, then shocked until they vomited or lost consciousness. Those who didn't respond had electrodes surgically implanted in their brain's pleasure centers. Survivor Simon Coley later testified that some men received up to 70 shock sessions, with many attempting suicide afterward due to the trauma. Levin fled to Canada in the 1990s, where he continued practicing psychiatry until 2010. When new allegations surfaced about him sexually assaulting male patients during court-ordered treatments. This dark chapter highlights how science has been weaponized against marginalized groups throughout history. Unit 731's Biological Weapons Testing. Japan's secret World War II research unit conducted live dissections, frostbite tests, and plague bomb experiments on thousands of prisoners. In one documented case, researchers tied a man to a stake, then detonated plague bombs at varying distances to calculate optimal infection ranges. Another experiment saw limbs systematically frozen with liquid nitrogen, then amputated without anesthesia to develop field treatments for frostbite. When Soviet troops closed in, the staff murdered all remaining prisoners with cyanide, then received immunity by giving data to the U.S. biological weapons program. Many key personnel later held prominent medical positions in post-war Japan, while victims' families received no acknowledgement or compensation. This remains one of history's most egregious examples of scientific war crimes going unpunished. Which of these experiments disturbs you most? Do you think any valuable scientific knowledge was gained from these unethical studies? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more shocking deep dives into science's darkest chapters, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next eye-opening investigation.